start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, honorable educators, respected opponents, and everyone here today. We are from SMA Negeri, and today we are participating in the UNESA English Debate Championship 2026. As the first speaker of the government team, I am proud to open this debate on the motion, this House believes that AI tools reward looking smart without actually learning. Our team line is simple. True education measures the depth of the mind's journey, not the shortcuts of an algorithm. Before I begin, let me briefly explain our team split. I, Fakhri and Setiawan, as the first speaker, will define the motion, set our framework, and present our first 3 arguments. Next, our second speaker, Safa Alzena Zamroni, will present 3 additional arguments to expand our position and later deliver the reply speech. Finally, our third speaker, Afkar and Pangestu, will reinforce our case and summarize why the government side wins today's debate. Now, let me clarify the motion. As we know, AI tools refer to generative apps like ChatGPT or Gemini that can provide instant answers. Rewarding looking smart means our school system praises a perfect final product, making a student appear to master a topic. Meanwhile, without actually learning means the critical path of education, the struggle, the trial and error, and the genuine understanding are completely bypassed. According to the Czech Global Student Survey 2025, 95% of university students in Indonesia use generative AI in their studies. Since learning habits begins early, this is a warning to build real understanding before becoming too dependent. Furthermore, a Pew Research Center study shows over half of high schoolers use AI chatbots for schoolwork, with 59% of teens viewing AI and use at a regular occurrence. We limit this debate to high school students, a critical stage for building independent thinking. When schools give high marks to AI-generated work, they reward a shiny surface where the student brain does no real work. With that in mind, let me present our first argument. AI encourages surface-level knowledge. AI allows students to bypass deep understanding by providing flawless answers instantly. Today, in facing a tough essay or a math problem, a student can just type a prompt and receive a solution in seconds, skipping the necessary reading, researching, and analytical processes. The UNESCO guidance for generative AI education and research explicitly warns against this phenomenon of writing without thinking, where independent cognitive agency is hijacked by machines. By copy-pasting generated text, students create an illusion of competence. They look smart on paper, but fail to understand the material. We see this clearly when a student submits a perfect essay but completely freezes when the teacher asks an unexpected question in class. Moving on to our second argument. AI reduces critical thinking and independence. Relying on AI destroys critical thinking because real learning requires the friction of struggling with hard concepts. AI removes this opportunity by handing out polished, ready-to-use answers. By surrendering problem-solving to an algorithm, we develop a dangerous technological dependency that weakens our own judgment. According to the OECD Digital Education Outlook 2026, general-purpose Gen AI may improve student task performance, but it does not necessarily lead to real learning. The report warns that relying on AI for thinking tasks can create metacognitive laziness, discourage active learning, and weaken long-term skill development. We are raising a generation that can produce police answers but lacks the cognitive depth to explain why they are true. Finally, our third argument. Education rewards output, not understanding. Our current system mistakenly rewards automated outputs instead of genuine student effort. Schools often evaluate the final product rather than the learning journey. Because teachers mostly look at the final paper, they mistake flawless AI-assisted work for real ability. Data from Turnitin shows that out of 280 million student papers, over 9.9 million contain at least intelligent AI writing. This exposes a loophole where millions receive top marks for work they did not process. Furthermore, half of the students surveyed will keep using these tools even if it's banned. The consequence is a widening capability gap. Performance dropped drastically during device-free in-person exams. As long as school rewards a shiny final artifact and not the process, AI will continue to destroy genuine learning. Our team is not arguing that AI should never be used. We recognize that AI can support learning when it helps students explore ideas or understand difficult concepts. However, the problem begins when students rely on AI to complete tasks without developing their own understanding. At that point, education rewards the appearance of intelligence rather than actual learning. To conclude, honorable adjudicators, education is meant to shape independent minds, not generate automatic answers. AI has turned academic achievement into a game of cosmetics, allowing students to mask a lack of understanding behind digital output. If we continue to praise the shortcut over the struggle, we are training a generation to look smart while their critical thinking fades away. For this reason, the government team stands firmly behind this motion. This House believes that AI tools reward looking smart without actually learning. Thank you.
I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Honorable educators and respectful opponents, my name is Safa Alzena Zamroni, and as the second speaker of the government team, my role is to reinforce our first speaker arguments and more arguments and demonstrate why AI tools reward looking smart without actually learning. Our first speaker has already talked about the impact of AI tools reward looking smart without actually learning, especially on high school students, and those impacts seem very serious for our future generation. Now, ladies and gentlemen, knowledge is not measured by how confidently you speak, but how well can you think independently. And this leads to my next argument. AI creates false confidence assertion. Students often believe they have mastered a topic simply because they have read AI-generated explanation. Learning is not the same as recognizing information. Reading a perfect solution is completely different from producing one independently. Real understanding requires struggle, analysis, mistakes, and even correction, and AI removes so much of that learning process. As a result, students confuse familiarity with mastery. They think, I understand this, simply because the explanation sounds clear. But when AI is unavailable, they cannot apply the same concept on their own. This false confidence becomes extremely dangerous in fields that require genuine expertise, where mistakes can have serious consequences. Ladies and gentlemen, according to psychologists Leonid Rosenbill and Frank Keel, 2002, introduced the concept of illusion of explanatory depth. Their research demonstrated that people consistently believe that they understand complex systems so much better than they actually do. However, when asked to explain those systems in detail, their confidence dropped significantly. Why? Because they discovered a major gap in their understanding. This phenomenon has been replicated in later research as well. Second, educational experts continue to warn about this problem. The OECD 2022 Digital Education Outlook described AI creating a mirage of false mastery, where students produce impressive AI-assisted work while their actual reasoning, memory, and critical thinking skills remain weak. The report emphasized the high-quality AI output should not be confused with genuine learning. Therefore, AI rewards students for looking smart instead of becoming smart and intelligent itself, and this destroys the whole purpose of education. Ladies and gentlemen, my next argument is that AI weakens long-term memory. Why? because genuine learning requires active recall and repeated practice. Educational psychology consistently shows that people remember information when they actively retrieve it from memory and solve problems on their own. When AI immediately provides answer, students outsource the thinking process. Instead of exercising their brain, they simply copy, edit, and submit. Because the brain is doing less cognitive work, information is much less likely to enter long-term memory. Eventually, students stop remembering because AI always remembers for them. Researchers Bethany Sparrow, Jenny Liu, and Daniel Wegner found that people are less likely to remember information when they know it can easily be accessed later through the technology. Instead of remembering the information itself, people tended to remember where they could find it. This phenomenon became widely known as the Google effect or digital amnesia. If high school students rely on AI and their long-term knowledge weaken, then our next generation are at risk. And this leads to my last argument, which is society risks producing credentialed but incompetent professional assertion. Our final arguments concern the long-term impact on society. If AI allows students to appear knowledgeable throughout their education without mastering the necessary skill, we risk producing professionals who hold qualification but lack of competence. Degrees and certificates exist because society trusts that they represent real knowledge and ability. However, if assignments, reports, and projects are increasingly completed by AI instead of the students themselves, academic credentials become less meaningful. This problem has so much impact on students' future as they would have a job in their future, like doctor diagnoses patients, lawyer protect justice. But society depends on these professionals who actually knowing what they claim to know and hold the ability, not simply knowing how to ask AI for answer. According to UNESCO 2023 Guidance for Generative AI in Education and Research, emphasized that educational institutions must preserve academic integrity because qualification represents public trust. UNESCO also warns that unchecked AI use can undermine the credibility of assessment, and they recommend to redesign examination to measure authentic student understanding rather than AI-generated performance. Ladies and gentlemen, today's debate is not about banning AI. It is about recognizing what happened when AI replaced thinking instead of supporting it. We have shown that AI creates false confidence, weakens long-term learning, and risks producing professionals who look qualified without being truly qualified. Education should reward effort, understanding, and genuine mastery, not simply the ability to generate convincing answers with artificial intelligence. For a better future and for all these reasons, our team stands firm with this motion that AI tools reward for looking smart without actually learning. Thank you.
I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Honorable adjudicators, respected compliance, and the attending audience. My name is Afkar as the third speaker of the government team. It is my privilege to close the debate for our side. I will dismantle the opposition's case by looking at the reality of modern education, dissecting the fundamental purpose of learning, and proving beyond a shadow of a doubt that our team line holds true. True education measures the depth of the mind's journey, not the shortcut of the current. Today's debate comes down to one absolutely critical question. What kinds of minds are we shaping in our educational institution? Minds that have wrestled with complex problems to build genuine intelligence, or minds that have merely mastered the art of digital cosmetics to appear intelligent? After analyzing the arguments presented today, the answer is undeniably clear. The opposition wants you to believe that AI is simply a tool for efficiency, much like a calculator. But
ladies and gentlemen, they are confusing the efficiency of output with the process of genuine integration. Let us examine our first major point of class, the process versus the final product. Our current school system has a fatal flaw in the age of generative AI. It heavily praises the perfect final product, allowing students to appear as though they have mastered the topic. According to the Czech Global Student Survey 2025, 95% of university students in Indonesia are already using generative AI in their studies. And peer research indicates that over half of high schoolers use AI chatbots for school. When a student faces a difficult essay, they no longer have to read, research, or analyze. The opposition might call this smart resourcefulness, but the UNESCO guidance for generative AI in education calls it exactly what it is: writing without thinking. This hijacks independent cognitive agency. Our first speaker proves that by rewarding these automatic outputs, schools are endorsing an illusion of competence. The data from 2018 is terrifying. Out of 280 million student papers, over 9.9 million contain at least 80%. And it's crazy that this fact and that this is millions of students receiving top marks, being rewarded for looking smart when entirely bypassing the struggle, the trial and error, and the genuine understanding that defines actual learning. This brings us to our second point of class, the danger of false confidence and metacognitive laziness. So, our second speaker brilliantly exposed the psychological trap of AI. When students read perfectly structured AI explanation, they experience what's called as the illusion of the explanatory depth. The students believe that they understand the complex system much better than they actually do because the explanation sounds clear. The OECD's 2026 Digital Education Outlook defines it perfectly as a mirage of false mastery. To make this completely concrete, let us look at the ultimate example that supports our conclusion today. Imagine a high school student learning computer programming. They are assigned a complex Python project, but instead of wrestling with the logic, facing syntax error, and debugging the code line by line, they ask AI to generate the entire program, and the AI delivers. The code is flawless, the application runs perfectly, and the teacher gave the students an A+, and that's all they need. But what happens when the student sits for a technical university interview where digital devices are banned? The student completely freeze. They cannot explain the core algorithm, they cannot fix the basic errors on the whiteboard, and they cannot write a single program independently. The AI created the appearance of competence, but not the competence itself. The student was rewarded, but the student learned absolutely nothing. This leads directly to our third class, the empirical proof of superficial learning and false confidence. We argue that AI could encourage surface level knowledge and create false confidence. To prove this, we can look to a recent experimental study published by the Stanford Scale Initiative called ChatGPT Produce More Lazy Thinkers. Researchers measured the cognitive engagement of students during academic tasks and found that the AI-assisted group had significantly lower scores in deep processing, strategic thinking, and mental effort compared to the unassisted group. This is proof that our first speaker assertion. AI allows students to successfully bypass the necessary analytical struggle. So, finally, let us address the ultimate consequence of the opposition world, the societal impact. If we let AI allow students to appear knowledgeable throughout their education, we will produce a generation of credentialed but entirely incompetent professionals. We're not just talking about students getting honored A's, we're talking about future engineers, doctors, and lawyers. Society depends on these professionals actually knowing what they claim to know, not simply knowing how to type a prompt into an AI. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's compare both words one final time. In the opposition world, schools continue to reward assigning final artifact. Empirical data proves that mental effort and deep processing decrease drastically when AI is used. But in our world, we recognize that the friction of struggling with the hard concept is the learning, and the student build through the independence, critical thinking, and durable long-term memory. Today's debate is about recognizing what happens when technology replaces thinking. If we continue to praise the shortcut over the struggle, we are betraying the very purpose of education. Therefore, for the sake of critical thinking, genuine mastery, and the safety of our future society, this House firmly and proudly believes that AI tools are worth looking smart without actually learning. Thank you very much.
Honorable educators and respectful opponents, my name is Safa Zamroni, and I, as the replay speaker, will tell you why our side clearly won this motion. Ladies and gentlemen, our team strongly stand firm with the motion of this House belief that AI reward looking smart without actually learning. Now, the opposition team might say AI is useful, AI is technology. Yes, AI indeed is technology, and our team side never stated that we are banning them. Our team wanted a better future for the next generation. But how would the next generation become better? When they are too dependent on AI, they can't even do a simple task without AI, and they don't even fully master the education they are provided with because they rely on AI too much. All of those things happen because one simple thing. AI rewards students for looking smart without actually learning, and this actually destroys the whole purpose of education itself. Ladies and gentlemen, in the opposition world, the students rely on AI, and their long-term memory is even destroyed because they did less cognitive work. But in our world, we focuses on the student cognitive journey and progress rather than just the automated output. Ladies and gentlemen, let me make this clear. Our team is not rejecting technology or innovation. We are not banning AI nor abolishing it. Our team supports actual learning for students with the struggle, the problem solving, and the critical thinking that students do on their own without the help of AI. Yes, learning may be hard sometimes, but with learning, students can sharpen their minds. They don't have to rely on anything or even a tool like AI because they have themselves. Our first speaker has already proved with data of the negative impact because of AI reward looking smart without actually learning, and our second speaker proved that future would risk on producing professionals that hold the real ability and competence. Ladies and gentlemen, as we can see, our team clearly proved that AI reward looking smart without actually learning. We proved with a fact-based research, and our third speaker also gave a really good example of the negative impact that AI reward looking smart without actually learning. Our team think of the long-term impact, while the opposition team might only think of the function of AI. And for all these reasons, for a better future of our country and of our students, our team proudly stand firm with the motion AI reward looking smart without actually learning. Thank you.